afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to Sowtex breakout session, Knowledge Series 2, and we are in the breakout session 14th. And we welcome everyone to be here back on our session, our knowledge sessions. And with this, we are nearly completing our 21st webinar in a span of nearly about 4 months since the time we were in the lockdown stage. So, Sowtex webinars were nothing but the understanding of a fallout effect which happened due to the COVID-19. And during the lockdown, and now that things have started becoming easier, we started understanding that there was the industry has gone through a lot of transition in the last few months. When we started with the lockdown, there was an immediate closure and shutdown of the factories. There were a lot of impact on the orders, workers, factories. Everything was kind of getting crammed up, and we had discussed and been discussing series of issues which were there earlier as part of the pain areas of the industry. And during this lockdown, we have covered a lot of ground in terms of how these pain areas can be overcome. So today's session is nothing but an extension to our previous sessions also. The kind of information sharing as well as the problem areas that we are we were struggling out with. One of the main areas that businesses in the textile, particularly in the fashion industry, struggles is on the efficiency. India and Indian subcontinent on a global level, as Dr. Bheda says, who is also part of the session today, that we are currently operating at 50% of our efficiency. So there are a lot for us to understand, and in case if we can optimize our production capacity without even spending much on the infrastructure, there is a lot of ground that needs to be covered without investing much into the infrastructure area. We would be talking more about this, and we'll be discussing this in the session today. So I'll simply quickly start off today's session with today's areas and the agendas of today. Today's agenda was we have got the topic today for building efficiency as low-hanging fruits. So in the Indian or in the Hindi, I would say कि अगर हम अपने बिजनेस की एफिशिएंसी को बढ़ा सकें और उसमें से वो चीजें हम सबसे पहले देखें कि जो इमीडिएट करेक्ट कर सकते हैं, the things which can be corrected immediately at a short span of time, or maybe at a lower cost involvement. Let us analyze that and see how we can take this particular things forward in this particular area. We have today's session is basically the complete area on the building efficiency has been divided into 2 sessions. We'll be covering up nearly about 8 to 9 areas in this particular these 2 set of sessions. Today we'll be talking more about certain core areas which are involving pre-production and the designing part of it, and the rest will be taken up in the following session. So I'd like to introduce our today's first panelist, Dr. Bheda, Dr. Rajesh Bheda. He's a very senior consultant who's been who's part of the industry. He's been a former professor and a chairperson of NIFT, and has been constantly and he's been a consultant to a lot of corporates and international trade bodies on productivity, quality, skills, supply chain, collaboration, and competitiveness. He also runs a company by the name of Rajesh Bheda Consulting and has supported over 500 apparel manufacturers and brands globally. Our second panelist for today is Mr. Sanjoy Sehgal. He is the founder and CEO of Exin Software Private Limited. He's got about 25 years of experience in the fashion technology business. He's designed, developed, and implemented softwares in PLM, VRM, CRM, POS, supply chain with the customers in US, Europe, India, and Far East. Currently, he is based out of India. He has worked and stayed in 3 continents in his professional career. So welcome to both the senior professionals, journalists to come and join us today.
So just maybe 30 seconds about our organization. Many of you know about us. We are an organization focused on the fashion industry and focused on the improvement of competitiveness of the fashion industry. We have worked in about 21 countries across the globe and worked with, as Sunil had said, worked with more than 500 factories, about 20 plus brands. About 1.5 lakhs people have been trained by us. We also work with development agencies and countries for larger social development objectives. So that's the brief introduction of our organization. We will move further. So when we get into the details of our discussion, before that, we would like to hear from the audience that, especially during these days of pandemic, and when you are interacting with your customers, we hear that the customers are coming back, new inquiries are coming in. So what kind of expectations do you see from the buyers? So you can write your answers in the chat box, that what have you heard from your buyers in last, say, 3-4 months time? What are they looking for from your organizations? What are their expectations? Please use the chat box, and please write in your question, your answers. That will be really, really useful for taking the session forward. Have you seen that the expectations of your customers have changed, or are they looking for something different during these times? Do we have any inputs coming in, Sunil?
I don't see too much of, there are inputs coming in now from the people.
Yes, so what are those?
So it is the best product in the minimum cost price. The lead time is an issue, reduced volumes. Goods should be available at a competitive price, sharp prices, quick deliveries. These are the things what people have been asking for. I mean, buyers are particularly asking for.
Wonderful, wonderful. Because it's always good to listen to the audience than assuming anything in particular as such. So thank you very much for the inputs. It's important to listen to you. So what we are saying is the shorter order quantities, reduced lead times is touched upon by some people. Squeezing prices or expecting a better product at a lower price is something coming out. Shorter PO quantities, worker safety. These are some of the prime concerns coming in from the customers. They're also trying to understand the well-beings of the factory and would they be able to continue working. So that is also a concern. But we also see that there are certain product categories where demand is falling, but certain categories, especially the leisure wear, those are sort of continuing steadily. Now, when we talk about the efficiency, what is important to know is the road of efficiency goes through quality. And quality and efficiency go hand in hand together. So that's where I would like to share this equation, which is given in one of the publications of American Apparel Manufacturers Association, and which says that ME plus EM plus EM equal to EQC and HP, which is effective quality control and high productivity is contributed by motivated employees, modern equipment, combined with engineered methods and enlightened management. So in a very simple equation, it encompasses everything that is required for a garment factory to function in an efficient manner. You're looking at motivated employees, equipment which is modern, and not only hardware, but also software, which Sunil will talk about in time, and Sanjay will talk about. And then methods need to be engineered, most optimized, and the management has to be enlightened. If these four things are together, then yes, the factory is definitely on the path of highest quality control or highest quality assurance and high productivity. So we'll move further from there. And so when we look at quality, what we realize is that manufacturing with a high rework rate or high defect rate is like driving on a broken road in a hilly terrain, and especially in the monsoon season, when you are driving in hilly terrain, there are also additional risks of, say, landslides. Anything unexpected can happen. But when the road changes, when you have a highway which is nicely smoothened, the same vehicle can perform at a excellent performance in terms of, the fuel efficiency is great, your maintenance costs are low, the driver fatigue is less, and the vehicle can last for longer time. So there can be a lot of similarity with this example to the way quality systems work in a government organization. And living with high defect rate is very, very strenuous for any government organization as such. Now, it is important to sort of link quality and profitability, because unless we explain things in the value of money, it is difficult for people to understand, because many people feel that quality is about doing good, but quality has direct impact on profitability. And in that context, cost of quality needs to be understood. In last few years, there's a growing awareness about cost of quality, and people are writing articles, people are reading about it, and so on. But in simple words, cost of quality is the money a company spends on ensuring quality, and the money that it loses due to mistakes generated in the product or services. So you spend some money to control quality, but you also lose some money because things go wrong in the organization. And this cost total is called cost of quality. And this is divided into 4 categories. Prevention costs is the money you spend on preventing the defects from occurring. Appraisal costs is the money that you spend on finding out what is the quality level of product or services within the organization at various stages. Internal failure costs are the costs associated with things going wrong inside the organization. And this external failure cost is a cost which is you need to incur as an organization when things fail outside the organization. And if we are able to see quality from the cost of quality point of view, then it becomes very easy to understand how much money we are losing and how much money we are spending to control the quality. And that clearly is able to tell us, if we improve things, how much money we'll be able to save. So let us spend a little more time on this, and then we'll move on to how to improve quality, and then we'll move into the pre-production area as such. So to understand more in the Indian apparel industry context, I carried out a study of 61 garment factories across the country, starting from Delhi to Chennai and from Ahmedabad to Kolkata. And this study revealed some very, very startling data. So it indicated that average factory that participated in this study lost 14.05% of sales. That's a large amount of money on account of cost of quality. And we had just discussed in the previous slide the 4 components of cost of quality. So as you see, that prevention cost was very, very minimal, only 0.26%. Whereas appraisal cost, the costs associated with finding out quality, which is inspectors' salaries, which is that testing cost for the first time, was about 0.26% of sales. The internal failure cost was 9.36% of sales. Almost 10% of the sales was lost because of things going wrong inside the organization. This could be you had to buy excess fabric because the fabric quality is not good. You have to buy excess fabric because your fabric consumption estimation was not right because of the rework, scraps, and things like that. And external failure was about 0.66%, which is linked to some of these air shipments, what you may have to do because of quality issues, or sometimes you may have to have a claim or a discount or something of that sort. So this was for the first time in a garment industry, a national level study was done, which clearly quantified how much money the companies lost. Now, what this graph shows is that average factory lost almost 14% of the sales, but the top 25% companies only lost 0.61% of sales. The difference between the average company and the top 25% companies is almost 8% of sales. That is the kind of a potential an average factory has in terms of saving through right first time quality. And what we see in the third bar is 2.5% of sales is the global benchmark for the best performing organization across any industry. So the world-class companies are spending about 2.5% of sales on cost of quality. The small point here to say is that any organization in garment industry has got tremendous amount of opportunity to save money by ensuring right first time quality. And if that happens, you save a lot of money. At the same time, because the problems get eliminated, the efficiency gets built. So quickly, if you were to see what is the impact of reduction in cost of quality and the profitability of the organization, we have taken an example of a 250 million rupees turnover company. If we assume the current profitability to be 10% and current cost of quality to be 14%, and if you are able to go from even 14% to 12%, just 2% reduction in cost of quality, there is additional savings of 5 million Indian rupees, and that can improve the profitability of the organization by almost 20%. So again, to keep things very, very simple, by improving right first time level of various processes, significant amount of money can be saved and the profitability of the organization can be improved. Or if you're in loss making situation, you can come to break even. Or you have some savings which can be used for improving your price competitiveness while working with your customers. Moving further, taking a case from NCR region, this factory saw over a period of 3 months intensive work, almost 45% reduction in their cut to ship loss. And the factory was able to, on a 40 crore sales figure, was able to save almost 1.33 crores in about 3 months' time. Again, this is an example. Depending on the factory's size and their baseline, the performance or the potential may vary, but this is a clear example of if we are able to focus on cost of quality and if you are able to get our right first time level right, then there's a tremendous amount of potential there. So it is important that companies understand cost of quality, cost of poor quality, and then ensure or focus their attention on improving right first time across the processes. It can really, really help. And we shall be more than happy to help any of the companies that may be interested. Now, the next question is, we understood that right first time quality can really help us save money, but how do we improve quality? So let us spend some time on looking at some of those tools. Of course, in the field of quality management, there are n number of tools and all kinds of methodologies, starting from Six Sigma to Lean to TQM. And today is not time to talk about all those, but I will talk about some fundamental concepts, and then one can get into further details. But most important principle is to understand is that quality can't be inspected in. It has to be produced right first time. Inspection can only be a postmortem that tells us what went wrong or how much is the defect rate, but that doesn't improve quality. That needs to be understood. Also, what we realize is that in many cases, when you ask the factories, they may have clear understanding of defect rates in certain processes, but there are so many other processes where the defect rates are not fully recorded. They are not analyzed. So it is very, very difficult to understand that how much amount of rework is there because it is not reported. Starting from fit approval, lab diff approvals, trimmings, size set approvals, bulk fabric quality. Again, in many factories we find they have confusion about how to record fabric quality, how to address or how to put penalty points for the rolls that are rejected due to quality, the rolls that have patta or shade variation. So a lot needs to be done there. And those KPIs will tell us where we are, and then you can start the improvement process. Moving further, if you have to look at any process and if you have to make it foolproof, then it is important that there are 5 things essential for any process to deliver it right first time, which means we must have people who are motivated. Again, going back to that equation initially, there must be know-how. You must have right kind of skills to be able to carry out that particular process as such. We must have ability of training our people within the process. Between the process teams, we should be able to train each other. There has to be right kind of plant and machinery. So if these 5 things are there in any group, and as long as they get right input, the input is not wrong, they should be able to give an output which is quality assured, because they know what the customer wants and they have the right kind of motivation, skills, know-how, training ability, and the plant and equipment. So no external QC or checker has to come and tell them what you're doing is not right. What is also important is that no department passes on their defects or mistakes to the next department. That's very, very important. For which we must be able to consider the next department as a customer, almost like an end customer. And if we are able to service our internal customer almost as if they are our ultimate buyer, then the quality ownership will improve, and the quality level across the organization would really become absolutely foolproof. So that's important, which means that the internal customer should be able to give immediate feedback on if something is wanting, and the supplier should be able to receive that feedback and act on it, and not get into ego clashes between the departments. So that's very important. What is also important that we record the feedback of internal customers. In many cases in the organizations, we see that internal customers' voice is not heard, or they are labeled as perpetually complaining department and not doing their job. So unless we record the internal customers' feedback or the satisfaction rate, quality improvement process always has some impediments. Another important concept what we implemented over a period of last 15 odd years is a concept of zero defect operator, which means can we certify our people who are able to produce fault-free processes, fault-free garments, okay? And there's a methodology of how to develop these kind of people, how to record their performance, how to empower them to do the zero defect job, and then reward them socially. So what you see here is a certification ceremony of the operator who has achieved zero defect operator status. So he gets or she gets a certificate, gets a badge, gets his photograph or her photograph on the wall. And the idea of the organization is to have as many people certified as zero defect operators, so that slowly you want the entire line to work without external quality control. What you see here is an example of a factory where across the lines, it shows the percentage of operators was certified as zero defect. So many times people feel that the concept of zero defect is more applicable to automobile industry or electronics industry. No, there are n number of workers in the garment factories who are at that stage, but we haven't recognized them. So people don't believe that zero defect is possible. Moving further, there are techniques like statistical process control. And again, here are the examples of P chart, which shows that after 30 hours or 32 hours of production, this defect has got eliminated, because here onwards it's zero. So there are techniques available which are known to us for many years or rather decades. If they're applied well, then we can make process by process foolproof, and the defect rates can be eliminated completely. Moving further, so this is mainly about some of the techniques that can be brought in to improve the right first time quality levels, and as a result, ultimately contributing to reduction in cost of quality, which directly contributes to savings in terms of hard money. But not only that, when your quality improves like this, your customer is very clearly able to understand the impact of it, because they're able to see that service level goes up, predictability of process is really good, and the system is working clearly. If there are problems, the teams know how to problem solve it, and they're able to control it in no time. And that really helps companies move to either self-certification status, and many buyers now really want the factories to go to that level so they don't have to bother about what the quality would be. So that's the first part of the presentation on quality side. Again, it's a vast subject, and I'll be happy to take questions as and when people start sharing, if anything is linked to that. Then coming to the second part, which is strengthening pre-production. And that's very important, and that is not given as much importance or as much attention in our industry. So typically when we talk to the production team and we talk to them about efficiency improvement and so on, and generally the feedback to us is, sir, please take care of pre-production and then leave the efficiency to us. There will not be any problem. We will be able to ship our goods on time without any problem. Generally what happens is the production gets about 60% of the promised lead time because the pre-production processes are delayed. So some of the areas are missing PCD due to late arrival of fabric, trims, approval delays. Material comes but it's incomplete. It comes in batches. There's no clarity in terms of when it will come. Last minute changes, and the production lines are starting and stopping. As a result, a lot of momentum is lost. And Sanjay will talk about how the planning can be strengthened and how WebTNA can help in some of these areas as such. Lines running dry And as a result, overall efficiency and the profitability going down. Delayed or miscommunication is rampant. Wrong information goes, or timely information doesn't go, and these need to be worked upon. Now, again, in the pre-production area, one of the concerns of many buyers is that, does a supplier give us accurate costing in the first place? So first, FOB costing is very, very important. We find that there are a lot needs to be done. Almost 45 to 65% of the cost of the garment is fabric, and the fabric consumption estimation is still is area which needs a lot to be done. And many times people depend on the masters. They put in their buffers. Merchants put their own buffers, and the costs start getting inflated. As a result, when you offer the costing, buyer says way too beyond, and then you try to bring it back. So that needs to be automated, and automatic pattern making now softwares are really able to help in quick fabric consumption estimation, which is much more accurate. That's very, very important. What is also important here is, many people say that we saved so much amount of fabric. Okay, but saving the fabric that you have bought has got no value, because you already paid money for that, and that fabric is not going to fetch you the full price. So estimating the fabric consumption right is very, very important. If your estimations are not right, either you lose the order because the cost was too high, or you get the order on which you don't make money. So another large component, again, of the costing is a labor cost. Depending on the country where you are, and depending on the product what you are, this can be between 15 to 30% of the FOB. And if we are not able to estimate our SAMs right, standard minutes right, again, there can be a huge amount of gamble you might take, because you estimated something, it actually turned out to be something else, and you may lose on that. Now, quite a few companies in Indian subcontinent are using certain softwares. Many times the investment in the software is quite expensive. Otherwise, you have to use time and motion study. But now we have newer solutions which operate on SaaS model, software as a service model, and you have to pay only as you use. And there are solutions like Time SSD, which can be used for developing time standards on a scientific basis. So this area also can be improved as such. So these are a few points. So there are solutions available which are much accurate, which can really add value. But sometimes we get so busy that we are not able to find time to be able to listen to or to evaluate the solutions, and because we're busy fighting battle. It's not trying to find fault with anybody, try to show fingers. It's a human psychology. It happens with us also, but we need to change. And especially COVID has sort of forced people to change and look at some of these new solutions. And what we're doing these 4 or 5 months through the webinars, through a lot of online learning. And if you see the adaptation of digital technologies, what the industry could not achieve in 5 years has happened in about 4 months in terms of people taking quantum leap on utilization of digital technologies as such. So supply chain improvement is another area which is very, very important. In our previous seminar, I touched upon this briefly, but I want to re-emphasize that we need to bring down our lead times drastically. If you have to improve our competitiveness, if you have to attract more orders, and because now buyers are wanting to reduce their forecasting errors, forecasting risks, and if you are able to really offer a much shorter lead time, we'll be able to compensate the higher shipment time through that and still have the orders here. If you're able to do better value-added products at a shorter time, we might be able to even airship, and buyers will be happy to do so. Many buyers are interested in that. So that's important. And there are companies in India which are really thinking out of the box. But these companies are very few. What is important, what is required for India is that large number of companies adopt these practices so that we are able to get large amount of business into the country, so that the industry prospers and the people employed by the industry also prospers, because otherwise currently the situation is quite bad. It's quite difficult across the globe, but it is something in our country. What we can do is in our hand, and we must work on this. Just 2 days back, I was part of a demand manufacturing center inauguration in the state of Utah in USA, and they set up a factory which we have been involved in, and they're really looking at delivering made in America goods at a very, very short time. and that kind of trend is picking up. We must sort of put our act together. And if certain companies in NCR can do it, why can't we? These are not new concepts, but we just need to respond faster. Moving further, so what is also important, what we realize is many a times the fabrics do not arrive in factory as per the priority. So the fabrics get jumbled up. What you require after a month comes today, what we need to sort of what was needed 15 days back is still not arrived. And as a result, you have to move between the orders, and it takes a lot of time. You land up wasting sort of time and moving orders from back and forth. And it also affects your delivery dates. So on-time delivery performance really suffers. And that is an area of concern for many buyers, that on-time delivery performance of India is much lower than what it can be or what the buyers expect to be. So this area needs to be improved, and priority management system can really help in getting the right fabric on right time with the right trims on right time, so that we are able to give enough time for production to take care of. And this can really give you a lead time reduction by about 15 to 20% or even more, and also inventory turnaround time. As a result, the capital requirement, working capital requirement can go down, and that can be an excellent saving. Quickly, I'll spend 2 minutes on this case study from Tirupur. This is a relatively large company, integrated nets company, and that worked on priority management system implementation with our team. And what we realized, working together, their on-time delivery performance improved substantially. And this is a project which is introduced in consultation with their buyers. Tremendous amount of improvement there. Fabric inventory reduced substantially. And from the same resources, the company was able to ship much higher production volume. So many a times, building efficiency is not really getting after operator and trying to make them hurry up. It is about building our systems in such a way that things happen in a smooth, planned manner, and there are no starting and stoppages as such. So this is again a specialized area. I don't want to spend much time on that, but there's a lot of improvement potential in improving these areas. Training on digital product development is very important. Companies are now turning around the digital samples in about 24 hours and giving it to customers, showing the original fabrics or fabrics from the database on the silhouettes what the customer wants. And that is really changing or reducing the lead times as such. There are a couple of small examples I would like to show before handing over the stage to Sanjoy. And this is a quick example from our friends Chupati. They're also a part of some of the previous seminars. The kind of visualization is excellent. Menswear, women's wear, active wear. And the good thing is that these solutions are now again available on pay-as-you-use basis. So again, doesn't require huge investment as such. This is another video which really went viral on social media about a Congolese designer called Hanifa. So that's where the technology has reached. There are suppliers now who say that you want to have a look at my product development catalog. Here's a pen drive. It's got 600 3D garments. You can look at them on your system. You can visualize. You can give your comments, and I'll be able to work on that. So that is the power of technology, which has made the world smaller, and it has reduced the need for expensive sampling. It's also important from the sustainability point of view, because you're not just making garments which will actually not be used, or they will just need to be reworked again and again. So the lead time has got shrunk, and the buyers are able to visualize what they want. And finally, what is wanted is really converted to sample. So that's the what I wanted to share first. I'll be happy to take questions whenever the time is right for that. I think with this, it is very important to be able to smoothen the production and improve efficiencies. We have to have the need for planning it better. We need to have better communication. We need to have better follow-up mechanisms so that people don't miss things and we are able to track the performance. And I'm sure that Sanjoy would be sort of wanting to throw light on that. And I look forward to hear from him. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bheda, for sharing very powerful details about, especially on the zero defect operator. I think that was one of the remarkable things. And I'm sure people in the attendance today, they would have made a note of this particular very strategic point in case if you can start putting a rewarding mechanism at the lowest level where people can understand in case if they can produce a zero defect quality and that can be highlighted, that can be appreciated. I think that will give a lot of motivation for a lot number of members of the factory at floor to understand that how important and strategic is to move towards the direction of zero quality area.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, that was like one of the very important strategic takeaways that I have from here today. And I now, call upon Sanjoy. Sanjoy, please. Yeah, you want to say something?
So just a small point on that is actually zero defect operators exist on our shop floor. We haven't seen them. We haven't seen them. We haven't recognized them. So it is about recognizing so that people start believing that it is possible, number one. And secondly, creating a sort of nurturing environment where we are able to produce or we are able to create hundreds of zero defect operators. And that's the responsibility of the management. How do you create that kind of a culture? How do you create that kind of a environment where more and more people get into that category and take pride in being a zero defect operator, being a zero defect factory? That's the dream we want to work on. A lot of responsibility on the management there.
I just want to ask you one quick question on this particular area. The picture that you showed it was for one of the factories in Bangladesh. Is that being kind of replicated in any of the factories in India also?
This is been done in multiple countries. So there were a mix of pictures, a picture from Bangladesh, a picture from India. So this has been done at least across 250 factories in different countries. So Myanmar, Bangladesh, India, Ethiopia, and in Central Asia. So these concepts are absolutely doable in any part of the world. And we find that once we talk to people, once we explain them that this is absolutely doable, and this is how you do it step by step. And people need to get excited about it and they see, okay, oh, that's working. And that's how you encourage people and it's absolutely doable.
And I think that is one very appreciable fact that some of the international buyers are also looking out for in case if your factory works out towards or starts moving towards a zero defect quality arena, the business significantly grows, I would say. There is a more consistency of quality delivery and the customers can also recognize that since the factories are able to deliver, let's give them with more business. Absolutely. And I think that's a very strong area as part of the quality.
Buyers need to focus really on now selling and making money in the retail than being bothered or concerned about ki quality sahi mein aayega ki nahi aayega, on time delivery ki nahi aayega. That should be really the expertise of manufacturers. And that is what actually is their expertise. But if you are able to take that responsibility, demonstrate through the actions and records that this company is beyond all these inspections. They know what they do. Why not? And buyers are waiting for that. Absolutely.
I'm sure. So let's hear it from Sanjoy. Sanjoy has been quite, waiting patiently to share his insight on the TNAs. So let's have it from him now. Over to you, Sanjoy.
Thank you. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Let me first start by thanking Sonal and Dr. Bheda for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you once again for coming and joining us.
Extremely interesting, Dr. Bheda. And
thank you, Sanjay.
And I think to underline what we've been talking about, low-hanging fruit, a lot of things can be done without too much effort. You don't have to invest a lot of money. There's no need for fancy systems or a lot of what we're talking about today. It's being smart about it. It's not throwing money at it. Okay. So in that respect is something that is essential to everyday business in fashion. And that's your TNA, your time and action calendar. Everybody kind of lives with it. It's your nervous system, right, of your organization. And yet, I go into company after company where they've been making the same mistakes, the same problems are happening for the last 20 years. There's no improvement, right? There's no real change. The ways of working are the same panic, the same trying to collate Excel sheets, the same different versions of Excel sheets across different offices. It's still as much as a mess as it was 15, 20 years back. So that is why we came up with the idea of Web TNA, simply TNA, time and action calendar on the web, Web TNA. How can we, with a very simple, low cost, quick solution, make a difference to a company? That's what Web TNA is about. Okay. Accent Software is a 16-year-old company and we specialize in fashion. That's all we do. We don't do any other industry. We focused since the beginning. The founders have experience all over the world working in fashion. We have 3 products, Web TNA, which I'm going to talk about. Also, we have a PLM and a omni-channel sales package. Today, we're talking about the time and action calendar on the web, Web TNA. Okay. See, what happens is most people today are using Excel or they're using a TNA built into their ERP system or their PLM system. In the case of Excel, now I could spend 2 hours just talking about the problems with Excel. While Excel is a brilliant package by itself, it is not good for sharing information. Okay? It's just not built for it. Number 2, a lot of the TNAs and PLMs and ERP are very good, but they do not address the problem properly. They are not easy to use. If every time I have to log into somewhere and update stuff, it's taking me too much time. So what happens? The expensive ERP or PLM is lying on the shelf or is used partially and TNAs are still happening in Excel. I come across company after company which do this. So Web TNA is a solution to make it simple, underlining simple. Okay. What is Web TNA? Basically, all internet based. So you pay as you go. You see it on your desktop as well as your mobile. Everything is color coded. You know, traffic light colors, red being late, green being on time, and yellow, orange being a bit late, right? Simple, obvious. You see it and you know what we're talking about. Each TNA has built in a live chat. What I see today is people will be storing information in Excel. They'll be having emails, they'll be having WhatsApp chats, and they'll be having separate PDF and documents. So 3 months down the line, you get a claim and you have to find the history of a project, you can forget it. Nobody has any idea. Because to collate all that information is almost impossible. So what does Web TNA do? It has a live chat within each TNA. Live means to the second, like WhatsApp, but built into the package. You can exchange pictures, you can exchange voice notes, you can exchange documents, you can take pictures of the camera. So your QC in the factory, for example, can take a picture of a garment and your manager sitting at the airport waiting for his flight can say, yeah, that's okay. Or look at this. So it's live. Okay, that's a very important aspect. Then let's talk about productivity. What I see is merchandisers, they spend a lot of the time updating Excels or making reports for buyers or management. To do the actual job, they have maybe 1/3 of the time. So we've focused a lot on making it easier for the person on the spot, the merchandiser, to do his work. Each person has their own calendar. They can see exactly per buyer, per day, per week, what do they have to do. And again, the calendar entries are color coded, so you know. And every day you get one single mail, just one mail, which has, again, color coded, what you have to do, what is pending at this moment. And the email has action buttons. So I can click it and do my work. I can say this task is done, or no, it's not done because of this reason. In the email itself, no logging in, nothing. So in my email, on my desktop, on my mobile, I can do my work. Okay. We have various dashboards. That's a given, I think, in today's day that you have to have lots of dashboards on the mobile as well as on the desktop. This is one example of a dashboard. It's showing me 6 orders running with each step. And if you note, in the dashboard itself, I can, select activities and do them. Everywhere we made it possible for you to do your work. In the calendar, in the dashboard, in the email, on the mobile, everywhere that you can do your work. Okay. We also have scorecards. Now, one of the biggest issues I find is that everybody's busy. Everybody seems to be overworked. But who's doing a good job and who's not doing a good job? Very difficult to find out. That's why we added the concept of scorecards. You want to compare your users. You want to compare your teams. You want to compare, if you're a buying agent, you want to compare different vendors. Or you want to see the efficiency of the customers themselves. Don't forget, a lot of the problems originate with the customer. Right? It's possible to see that. All right? That's it. We have a free version. You can go up and sign up immediately. And it's really, we're talking about like a half-an-hour setup time to start getting productive. Underline the fact we were recognized by Gartner twice. So we may be a reasonably small company, but we are well known. Now I want to switch and give you a quick demo. So I'm going to log in and actually show you what the system means and how it works. There are 3 steps in setting up WebDNA. First, you define your users, which is simple enough. Then you choose what fields you want to use. We are not forcing anything on you. We are not an ERP where we force, you have to do this, have to do that. You can select. We have predefined fields, which you can select and change them at any time. Or you can create your own fields. You want to have a customer, you want to have a sleeve length, anything you want to follow, you can choose one of the standard fields or create it yourself. So it's totally variable, it's totally up to you. And the next step is simply your TNA tasks, or we call them activities. You simply define your activities and you link them together. You create what we call a template, a TNA template. How do you work? What are the steps? Do you have 5 steps? Do you have 50 steps? Right? And how are they interrelated? Now I challenge you, you take your Excel sheet and you put it into the system, you'll see the difference. You'll be surprised at what your TNA time of 90 days actually is. Once you put the dependencies between activities, you'll see the difference. Okay? And you can also assign who's responsible for what. It's simply the question of dragging and dropping a picture onto an activity, and there you go. That's it. So in 10 minutes, I can create a template. I could have different templates for different buyers, maybe for different products, maybe for different countries of origin. But whatever, I make my templates. So that's it. That's a complete setup. You can do it in half an hour. Create your users, select your fields, make your templates, and you're ready to go. And what does ready to go mean? You're ready to create your TNAs. So this is showing me some TNAs. I can create a new one by one, which is extremely slow. Here you see the fields that I've selected will come here automatically. Or I can choose to simply import 10, 20, 50, 100 TNAs from a simple Excel sheet. The system will automatically create an Excel sheet with a predefined format, right? Which is defined according to what I have defined. Let me show you. All the fields that I selected are here. And when I define the values of the field, though, they're also here, right? If I define, I have these customers, this list, automatically in Excel, I can choose it. So like this, I can very easily make a list of all my TNAs. If you have an existing ERP or a PLM, you can simply export a list of your orders and import it directly into WebTNA. Another very interesting thing about WebTNA is the system keeps a projected date. So it's telling you, in my TNA, here, this is an actual TNA with the dates filled in. It's telling me there's a projected date. This was my original date, but based on the fact that my order confirmation is delayed, my date has changed. My projected date is going to be this. So it's warning you at all times, at every step. And with each step, you can have a conversation, a chat. Then let's come to what each individual does. Each individual has a My Activity section where they can see a list of what they have to do, or they can simply see it in the form of a calendar. In the calendar itself, I can select a couple of activities and just close them or add a message. Okay. We have measured the time it took people to update the Excel sheets and how much time it takes to do your work within WebTNA. It's maybe 1/5 the time it takes to do your work. Right? Then let's have a quick look at the dashboards. This is what I showed in the presentation. This is simply showing me different styles, different TNAs running, and what the status of each is. See, the color of the background is showing me the status of this order, this TNA, and it's showing me the projected date. So you can see what's happening. You can say, why is this so late? Just zoom in here and see and make a, say, why is this so late? Yeah. Then there's another view, which is very interesting. You can create your own dashboards. Huh? This dashboard, for example, is showing me 13 orders of a buyer called Central. And it's telling me 11 out of the 13, the order confirmation is done. 8 out of 13, the lab dev approval is done. So I can see exactly. I don't need to print reports. I don't need to find out information. This is live. At any stage, I can check what is the status of all my orders with this buyer. Similarly, we have the scorecards, where I can see per month who's the first, second, and third. Right? We have a manufacturer in Noida who actually gives a free ticket or an award to a person who comes first every month. So this, in very short, very quick, is a simple overview of WebTNA. Now, I'd love it if somebody had some questions. That would be a nice time to.
Can we make purchase orders and invoices with this software?
Now, this is solely meant for your TNA.
Okay.
It is not essentially your steps in your TNA, your fields. If you like, you can record the information, but this is not an ERP. This is simply an add-on to manage your TNAs. Okay, so it'll work along with your ERP.
So basically, the moment any order comes into the factory or in the manufacturing unit, they punch it in their internal ERP, and then that order gets logged into with the reference of that order.
It's very easy. We can pick this up, from the ERP. We pick it up and manage this. Okay. And in the second webinar, we will show you how to go a step forward with this, with WebTNA, advanced usage. But that's out of scope for this webinar.
Okay.
I had a question on the fact that everybody's used to using Excel. So how is a switch? It's a very big switch. Well, we thought of that, and we create your existing Excel report can be printed out from the system. Look at this, your fields as well as your steps in your TNA. This is simply a report in our system. So this is your old TNA. So you can just print it out as a report in the system.
Okay. There is another question from another anonymous attendee. How much time does it take for implementing quality improvement programs? I think this is for Dr. Bheda. Dr. Bheda, can you check this?
Yes. So it depends on the organization and what is the scope of the program. But if you look at, say, if you take a ballpark figure, the first phase of program, about 4 months time if you take, then we can cover a reasonable amount of ground to create a base, depending on where we start. But that is a time which is sufficient to be able to see very clearly visible changes, to be able to get the training of the teams done and build good foundation with clearly visible results. But otherwise, quality is a continuous improvement journey. So it doesn't mean that once you've done the 4 months program, then your job and your quality issues are sorted out forever. But that is a good time to be able to really have a good solid base and see clearly visible improvement. And after that, company team can take things forward, or there can be continuous support, because there are some companies which we have been working for almost 3 years continuously and taking them to next level and next level and next level, because the goalpost just keeps on going away from you, and there are more improvement opportunities that are visible to you, which you would like to capture.
Let me answer one more question about how to change information. That's a very good and a very valid question, because things are never static in the industry, right? They always change. So we have various ways of being able to change information. For example, if I take this TNA, I select it and I say edit the dates. Here I can actually say, okay, this is running late, but let me see what happens if I change my trims order. If this is going to get delayed by 15 days, what happens to my target date? So it changes accordingly, right? And so I can play with the dates. I can change all the dates and play with them. And it's like a what if. If I reduce 2 days here, if I reduce 2 days, I can play with the dates and decide if I want to change it. So this is possible to change everything. And automatically everything changes in the TNAs, people are informed. And okay, one more thing which I actually kind of forgot, my apologies. I forgot to show you the mobile app, which is very important. So in WebTN, the mobile app, it's showing me what are my activities, this is for a buying agent. So what are my TNAs per vendor or per customer, right? So if I zoom into what the TNAs are for this vendor, I can say these are the TNAs, they're all running late. And if I zoom into one TNA, I can see the different steps. And I can start a conversation on any. Right?
So, is this application only meant for the apparel industry, or it is for any kind of fashion, or can be used for the fabrics and the...
It can actually be used for anything. I recently implemented it for an exporter for their GST returns. They made a TNA for their GST returns. It's basically project management in a simple way. So all your fields, right, that you define, they all come here, available to you.
Okay.
So yes, it can actually be applied for almost anything.
Mr. Bhaskar Saha is asking, is this TNA possible to integrate with any suitable ERP, exporting and importing data and information?
Yes, absolutely. It's extremely flexible. Like I said, you define your own fields. So if we get that data from anywhere, we can pick it up, and any data in the system you can export. For larger companies, we actually build custom integrations because we have a public API where we can build, or anybody else can also build things with us.
Vikas is asking how convenient is this software to help in their PPC areas.
I think the best way is either we give you a private demo, or if you like, we can simply, you try it yourself. It's a free, just go to our website and try it for free. We also have a YouTube channel where you can go and have a look. Just type WebTN in YouTube or Accent Software. We have all the videos of the system. Play with it. Sign up for free. If you go to accent.com, you can sign up for free and play with it. And if you want us to do a demo, just click on the book a demo, and we'll be happy to help you. You can send us your existing TNAs. We'll put it in the system and show you how it works. Any of the ways you like. I'll just put all the contact details into the chat so that everybody has the information.
Sure. So at this point of time, we'll just take 2 more minutes to explain how, Sanjoy, if you can give me a screen, I want to share something as well. So since we're talking about digitization and a lot happening through mobile phones and mobile apps, Sowtex app also helps in connecting the buyers and suppliers together. So this is an open-ended area where you can get connected to both the buyers also and suppliers also on a single gateway. The information can be exchanged, whether it is on sourcing, whether it's your designs, your stocks, your idle capacities. So a lot of those kind of tools are available and those kind of functions are there as part of the Sowtex app. So that gives a flexibility for people to stay connected, discover designs, inventory, surplus stocks around different regions, geographies, reach out to different vendors in different areas. And sometimes if the product discovery becomes difficult, कि अगर आपको कोई डिजाइन नहीं मिल रहा, कोई प्राइस नहीं मिल रहा, या आपको इमीडिएट किसी को प्राइस देना है, you want to give price to somebody immediately. So those kind of things can be possible through our discovery app. I'll take a minute. Normally what happens is, in terms of the current business model, when people are doing the digitization of their businesses, I'm talking about the front side of the business, not on the ERP side. A lot goes into developing a website, design management, stock management, then lead generation, which is your regular sales area, or the marketing of your business. Typically, an average company spends about 15.3 lakhs in a year in building up these various verticals in their businesses. And we have this 3-tier plan wherein from 21,000 rupees per year to you can get started on Sowtex, and you can explore all these features which are there as part of the ecosystem. There are 3 levels of membership which offers more benefits and other areas. So we can take this more in detail. We have a next set of session, which is a continuation to this particular program, today's session on the 9th of September. That is on the next Wednesday, and the time is again 4 to 6. So for the people who are joining in, today or who have logged in today, they don't have to log in again. You will be getting the new registration link again just a day before the event. So you don't have to re-register for your for things. Of course, in case if you want your teams to understand the concept on efficiencies, the information which got shared today, and I felt there are 3 strategic areas that one should look into. How to achieve a zero defect side of the operator. That was a very insightful things. Product costings, and a very important vertical which I would be talking to Dr. Bheda in a while, as to how to calculate the costing on these software. That is very important area. So I think we can take a more understanding on this. So please call up your team members whom you think are important and who all want to understand this concept. This session's video will be shared on Sowtex community page as well. So by tomorrow afternoon, we'll share the links to everyone. Or you can connect with us on Facebook page, which is the Sowtex community page. There you have the complete recording of today's session. So in case if you want to have an understanding once again, that's where you can reach out on. And this is the number of Sowtex teams at various geographies. You may sign up, you can sign up in case if you're not a member of Sowtex, you can sign up on the Sowtex app and reach out to Sowtex team members at any of the things. We will just come back to the questions here once again. So there were a few more questions which were there. So one of the question is from an anonymous attendee, what about the resistance of experienced members of the team to do the improvement in the projects? How can we handle the resistance part whenever we are doing the new technology implementations? Dr. Bheda, would you like to answer this?
Okay, so thank you. It's a good question because many improvement projects do not give the kind of result they deserve or they can actually give because of the resistance. And resistance to change is a normal human tendency. So when you want to introduce something new, there's a skepticism and people could be wondering, you know, why should I get involved into this? What is it there for me? So it is important that we listen to people, don't impose change top down, but really use a consultative process to understand their pain points and explain them how this new solution is likely to improve the quality of their life, work life, personal life. And if you are able to explain these things to them clearly in simple to understand language, then we find that the resistance goes down. It doesn't become zero. There are certain people who still try to resist, but as long as you are able to clearly explain what we are going to do is going to do no harm to them, it is going to rather have beneficial effects on them, then they might start thinking. But they still may feel that, okay, now inka to kaam hai bolne ka bolte rehte. Where is the evidence? So then they may want to see the evidence of something of that kind that has happened, and they may like to hear from their peers or somebody like in similar position from another company saying that actually we went through and it wasn't painful, it really helped me. So that can help. I'll just give you one small example that in one of the companies, when we started the program, so we promised them that it's a quality improvement program. I'm sure the quality will improve. You are all going to put in your efforts. But one thing I can promise you more, that your quality of work life will improve, apart from the defects going down, because the frictions happen when things go wrong and the tempers flare up. But if the problems start going down, the need to fight goes down, need to shout goes down, need to work extra hours goes down, and as a result, you'll enjoy your working. So and it did happen that at the end of the program, they said that actually that happened. What you promised on our personal front has happened, and we find now working is much more easy. Working is much more stress less, or stress has gone down. So these kind of things happen. It's important that we are able to listen to people and are able to address their fears, because it's a fear of unknown which sometimes makes people resist. Sanjay, I'm sure that you have a lot of experience of this.
Add something.
Yeah.
You see, very often we have. I'm talking now with respect to WebTNA. Top management loves it because they finally get information without having to ask for it. You know, it's at their fingertips all the time. And the people on the spot who have to do the actual work also love it. What we get resistance from very often is middle-level managers, because they feel that they are being cut out. It's a psychological thing. So it is really it's a bit of a game to involve them, to make them see the advantages. So it's a very interesting psychological play. But I'll give you an example. Yesterday, I did a demo for somebody who came quite skeptical to the demo and said, yeah, I've seen a lot of TNAs. Even my ERP has a TNA. Their TNA is a lot better. So did the demo. Then we asked him after that, he said, frankly, I'm speechless. Why? Simply because it's so easy to do. It doesn't take time. It is not complex. That's the key. We had some outstanding testimonials for also. And I always say, try it, it's so little effort to try it. And you see for yourself. But coming back to what you said about the introduction of new systems, it's always a challenge. It doesn't matter if you have a small company or a large company. You have some people who go along with the flow, some people who resist it very strongly. So it has to be a little bit of carrot and stick, it has to be a combination. There has to be some incentivization, and yet there has to be a little bit of danda also that you have to get it done. And I think today's time, more than anything, shows you have to move, you have to change. Carry on, Sonal. Yeah.
So one area which I wanted to check with you, I do believe that technology implementation does bring in a lot of resistance from people from all across, because they feel that it is something which is not easy and their work is getting monitored, and things which are now easy will become hard, and people will start pointing out their small mistakes. How do you handle such kind of challenges? Because I'm sure as part of the TNA, because accountability do sets up and people start feeling that there is too much of follow-up which is to being given out. And so how do you think these kind of challenges can be handled? And of course, this is a challenge which both the junior as well as the management faces together.
That ultimately, the management has to share the organizational vision with the people. It's very, very important that we are together as an organization, and we are in existence for a purpose. And everybody who comes in the organization has to be contributing to that organizational vision and the goal and objective. So sharing that is very important. And from that point of view, if we are able to explain and people are able to understand that how their actions either further the organizational cause or impede the organizational cause, that clarity they must get. Secondly, also what is important is that they should be able to, or we should be able to share with them that it is not a black box. Okay.
Of course.
The management understands what's going on. Management is open to understand their challenges. Management is there to support them in resolving those challenges. But if somebody is knowingly creating a non-transparency and hiding behind curtain so that they can relax and do things which are detrimental to the organizational growth, then that transparency has to come, saying that this is a need of the hour and there's no alternative to that. But the idea of bringing technology is not to hold people by the neck and saying that who needs to be punished. The idea of bringing in technology is to improve efficiency so that we become more attractive to our customers, we become more competitive, and as a result, everybody has a chance to grow in the organization. So only exceptional people who still are sort of or have some malicious intentions, they would beyond a point resist. But those would be only a couple of %. So it is really up to our communication ability of how are we able to explain to people that why are we doing this change. We are not trying to catch a culprit, but we are trying to solve a problem which is holding us back. And if we progress, you also progress. But of course, at the same time, if you're going to come in the way of progress of the company, then that cannot be tolerated, that cannot be lived with. That means then we have to have a different way of dealing with that as such. That's very, very important. How you approach, what is your objective, what is your true objective, and do you stick to it? And is your speech and action synchronized? That really creates that kind of trust in the organization. And somebody who's playing mischief, of course, stands out, and they might go on their own, and which might be good for the organization. So you give chance to everybody, but the objective is to help us improve efficiencies so that we're able to grow, so that our customers love us, so that we enjoy working in the organization.
That's a very, very important point that you just mentioned out. So I'll also share one of the, case studies that we do it on Sowtex. The initial part of resistance came in when we started doing a digitized sourcing. So as part of this particular area, what we did was in this app, you can just upload the details of what you want to source and you just share it on the platform based on the category, subcategory, and the specification goes to the right set of manufacturers across different geographies. So what has started happening was the information started coming more quickly than their regular vendors. So which was something to a surprise to most of the people as to how you can get this kind of information. So normally it takes about few hours or a day or 2 days to get the information collated from different vendors. You send them an email, they will reply back. And when they started getting it within a set of few hours, so we also integrated one tool wherein they can actually compare the prices of all the vendors coming together on one single Excel sheet. They don't have to do it, so it is an automated process. They get to see all the prices coming from vendor 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and within 48 hours you can take this sheet and so the moment that started coming in front of the purchase teams, they felt it was way too easier. So I particularly am talking about two particular such vendors or the customers in Jaipur. When they started seeing that now they can see the prices on their screens within 48 hours with different vendors and their existing vendors, the actual symmetry became easier for them. So that is I think the way you just mentioned that efficiency is something where you need to tell them, you need to handhold it to them, and you need to show them some benefit that if there is prices, you can negotiate with your existing vendors. One, you can talk to them, these are the prices coming from different geographies. Of course, if there is a gray area that you can look around from the top, so all that kind of efficiencies can be built up, and it can actually, bottom down to the fact that it can bring in cost reduction in the company. And once the cost reduction culture starts coming in, you can see that, down the line, people will feel that there is more business which is coming in, which is nothing but, building in as part of the efficiencies part which you just highlighted. And this is like one of the areas, how people can deal with this. And of course, as Sanjoy mentioned, if there are stakeholders that you can have it in your company and then one person gets the order and he's given it to the merchandising team, he's the production team is roped in, the fabric team is roped in, the stores are roped in. So what happens is everything, the communication starts getting more faster, and that's the level where I think people are looking out at this point of time. That's the area which we should be heading out to. Yeah.
Let me add. See, I find two essential things about any organization. I'm talking about general organizational dynamics. Number one is communication. Okay.
Yeah.
If you keep everybody in the loop, why are you doing this? What is the end? If people are informed, that's one of the first steps. So you move together. That's really important. Means at every level of the organization, so they know why you're doing something, right? That's a lot of organizations surprisingly don't follow this simple principle. Okay? That's one. Number two, building a culture of experimentation, of trying things out, right? To actually allow mistakes, to be actually try technology. That is two fundamental things that organizations need to cultivate, do, build. And sounds simple, but actually in practice, very often it's not that simple.
Yeah, there are, if I can add something, there are some companies, before they call us for the interaction with the client teams, they have at least a couple of sessions for the entire team to explain that what are we trying to do, why is this improvement project important, whom are we calling, and what is to be expected. And then they sort of really have kind of brainstorming. They ask all the critics to ask all kind of questions. Okay, why we shouldn't do it, what their apprehensions are, everything. And then they call us in. And so when we say, okay, Do you people know why we are here? Yes, sir, we know. How do you know? Because our chief CEO or MD explained us. We had multiple meetings. We thrashed out everything, and now we are clear that we want to go for this program. There is no other alternative, and please tell us how it is going to happen. Tell us a little more technical details. But the need for the program is out, and so we know that it is for us, because many times what happens is the tendency is such that the organization or some of the key people in the organization are there wanting to test out this solution provider. Okay, let us see if they can do this. Let us try, give them the most complex solution, most complex problem, and make it so difficult to implement, and see if they can still survive. And that becomes very painful in terms of really getting the kind of result you should get. So, and as a result, many improvement projects fail because of this. Because, okay, while giving the pilot line, give them the most difficult supervisor, you know, or who is the best performer, and give that kind of person. And that doesn't, it sabotages the improvement process of the organization. Because the idea is not somebody has to come and give a test. Idea is that we want to go to next level of improvement. And that's where the improvement process gets sort of stalled, or it comes to grinding halt. That's where we are somewhere around 45, 50%. The benchmarks are 75% plus. 50% more productivity improvement can happen. But that can happen when everybody plays that role. Everybody's fired up. And of course, everybody knows that the gains of the improvement will be shared. So that if you work together, we'll all get the gains of the improvement. That is very, very important. That clarity is important. Otherwise, there's a difficulty. Sunil, there is also one question in the Q&A, which is about, is Pokayoke practically possible in the garment industry?
Yes, yes.
Yes, yes. So, yes, Pokayoke as a principle of mistake proofing is possible in every industry, including garment industry, because garment industry is no different from other industry. Every industry has got some changes in their processes and so on. But Pokayoke is typically mistake proofing. How do you ensure that the mistakes do not happen? And there are n number of examples of Pokayoke where we eliminate mistakes from happening. Okay, and we're currently working we just last year we did a publication for ILO, which has got good practices from across the globe on various domains of garment manufacturing, starting from quality to sustainability and so on, safety. And currently we are involved in another publication for International Trade Center. And we have a case study there on Pokayoke implementation in garment industry. And this is about automatic needle guard for a button stitching machine. Because button stitching machine, sometimes needle can hit the button and the needle piece can get sort of thrown out, or it can sort of bounce and hit the worker's eye or something of that sort. And using Pokayoke principle, they came out with a device which will ensure that when the operator is approaching the machine can be approached, but after that, a guard comes in and a broken needle will not be sort of splashed out. So yes, definitely possible. All quality management, TQM principles, industrial engineering principles are applicable to this industry. Everything can be done as long as we want to implement it. And these are sometimes very, very easy. They also can be low cost. They don't have to be very, very expensive. We can basically, what Toyota did, they used the human creativity over the capital power of American corporations. And that's where they were able to really come from a very small market share and captured, because they were really using the human ingenuity and creativity.
I strongly understand the point that you just raised out here, that this is very, very, essential for people to understand how things can be changed and how the dynamics should be adopted. While few of the people who are just with us at this point of time, I would just share one link on the chat box. Please use that link to share some feedbacks with us in terms of how do you find this particular session. what kind of information that you feel was important to you. One particular area I would like to understand, and this is a question to Dr. Bheda. You just mentioned out that in the first phase of the session, that FBO, the costing is something which should be derived, and the first level of costing that has been given to the buyer has to be done very carefully. And I understand this is one of the very key areas, because I feel that 30% of the buyers don't revert back once the first costing has been shared. And it is very, very unlikely that buyers are going to come for the target price after the first costing, if it is way too different. You also emphasize the fact that there was a technology we can use to work on this, driving the costing. So can you emphasize a little bit more on this particular area? How can people get advantage of this?
See, basically there are a couple of things there. One is technology, but before that is a management thinking.
Yeah.
So what is important, especially in today's date, now the market is really dynamic, is that a supplier, so you say Professor Ramcharan has said that customer's customer. Very important for you to be in business and to be successful, you must know customer's customer. So that means what the end customer is looking for in terms of price point, in terms of look, in terms of feel, in terms of sustainability issues and so on. So once that we understand very, very well, and we understand the current price point offered by the customer in the market, then you try to see where can our product fit in. So instead of offering a particular product at a particular price, if my research team is able to do the market research and able to come out with a solution saying that this product fits in your shelves in that space very, very well what your customer is looking for, and I'm able to offer you at this particular price on which your profit expectations are met, or you can improve on your profitability further, because that's how I build my offering to you. The customer will not really get into too much amount of details as such, because you've done the entire homework for the customer and you're saying that this is what my solution is, that's where it fits in. So that is a larger picture. Understand your customer, understand their price point, understand their current offerings, where the products are coming in from, and what kind of a solution can you build which is better than their current offerings, what they're getting. That's number one. Number two, we also need to understand that the situation is very dynamic, especially the post-COVID, and people are competing against each other. Okay, so that's where our ability of costing accurately is very important. Currently, there's a tendency of everybody putting in their own buffers, just in case. Let me put small buffer, Master G puts, merchant puts it, and so on. That becomes a problem. That is because the database is not maintained. If we are able to maintain database of the previous costings, the variances, the reasons for the variances, and what the actual consumption should be, then we will be able to understand from the past data what the real consumption is. That is one part. But the solution what we're talking about is now automatic pattern making systems. So now this system have an ability, if you're able to put the measurement, they would be able to make a costing marker in no time. And that costing marker can be very, very accurate compared to the current process of taking the consumptions, because Master G has to make a marker and then then give the estimation and put the buffers and so on. So if that we are able to do, where the solutions are available now, and I'm sure that multiple vendors offer this kind of options as such, but again, Tukatek has been talking about it and is available at a very, very affordable price. So these solutions do help because the information is digitized. So when you make small changes, the system is able to figure out what the change is and able to give you the new consumption at no time. And then as long as your management protocols are very clear, so that unnecessarily buffers are not put in, then the costing will be accurate. There is also one more point. Now you got your costing accurate. Are you able to be in that costing? That means, are you capable of actualizing your plan? That is another key competency. That is, this is what it should be, as long as I don't lose out on unnecessary things. That means, how good are my process controls? Am I able to sort of control my fabric and so on, so I don't land up subsequently using 5%, 7% more fabric, then that costing will go wrong. So accurate estimation is important, and being able to implement that accurately with a good control is also important. Otherwise, you may have a situation where it becomes overrun because your ability to control is poor. But yes, solutions now are much, much sharper, and they're able to give you results in no time.
So just to build up on this particular conversation, at what level should a company start adopting to this particular areas? Let's say if it is a software which accurately measures the consumption pattern and does the costing on a digitized basis. At what level, when I say what level is what is the size of what should be the size of the company where people can afford all these kind of applications, or is it more of a mindset that it can start from a small unit also? What do you want?
Any serious company can start using it. The service providers are offering variety of options in terms of how to avail service. There are service centers which can offer you as a sort of service for a fee basis. So it's just a matter of taking decision that you want to do it, and there are n number of solutions available. So I don't see any company that actually cannot really afford. And people like Sanjoy, people like other service providers have come out with innovative solutions which are SaaS based, and definitely the solutions will be available. And these are part of the pattern making software as add-ons or add-on services. There is no problem at all. It definitely can be done. Almost any company can use it.
And this is all for the apparel and the fashion business only, or it is available for the supply chain in holistic way?
All along, all the different players in the industry. Let me add something also. What I find very often in a slightly large company, very often software adoption is IT led. Okay, and I've done lots of large projects. Okay, in Europe, in the US, and all, where we implement, for example, a PLM. What we found the most successful projects is where IT is just an enabler, stays in the background. And the people who are involved are actually the people who are going to use the system. So they take ownership. It's a very, very important, very subtle, but very important thing. Projects in fashion, in business should not be IT led. They have to be led by the people who are actually going to use it. Very critical.
That's a good point.
That's a very, very valid point, Sanjay. I think if that is one area that I think if the people or the community understands this, rather than shying away from technology and refraining to use it, they should actually go out there and try as much options as available. I wouldn't say as much options, but I would say definitely in every single area, they should look what can work for their business models. If one service does not work for them, that does not mean that service is bad. It is not meant for their organization, and they should look for an alternative service. I think that's one way of going for it. And as a tech company, we have also seen this as a very, very strategic area. And as a tech or architecture person, tech architecture person, I would say, it is more to do with the UI UX of how the solution comes in. If the UI UX has been played in the right manner, people find it extremely useful, extremely benefit, and they know which they can move around. People have been adopting to WhatsApp and to Facebook, and in case if people can use WhatsApp, Facebook, and LinkedIn, they can use any damn software. I would say it's very easy as this point of time. And I'm sure Sanjoy, WebTNA also does the same thing in terms of offering the user interface, and
It's we talk about the CNN generation, right? And nobody has time to listen to a news analysis for 20 minutes. You want 2 minutes. Tuk, tuk. So you don't want to spend too much time learning. So UI UX is really important. Somewhere, of course, it's a bit unfortunate because you can't only take the surface value of something. You have to understand. But however, today, any software you want to succeed, you have to make it very simple. It's got to be obvious.
And I
Nobody has the
think,
time to waste.
and I think in the last 4 months, that one thing that has quite surfaced out very promptly is the fact that the use of technology, especially when it comes to ordering, which is like B2C websites, Amazon, Flipkart, if those are the sites that can help you devise, look around for product, look out for the detailing about the product, and then order it. If people, there was a statistics that just came out about 2 weeks back. That means the B2C ordering index has gone up by 50%. So pre-COVID, if let's say there were 100 million users of doing ordering online, now it has straight away jumped up to 150 million users. So that is the kind of growth which has happened up in the last 4 months, which has not happened in the last, I would say, 10 years.
It's actually not only this, there are more technologies. What has happened that it has spurred the adoption of technology. Like 3D. If I look 6 months back or something, 3D was the bigger company was saying we have to start. Everybody's trying it, experimenting. Today, you have to do it. There's no question. It's like accelerated the adoption of technology.
Yeah.
Moving faster.
Totally agree with you. We need to understand a lot more detailing about how the software of Tukatech works. And the video which was shown by Dr. Bheda, I think it's an amazing video. How to model it, how to style it, and how to put it in the system is something which we need to take a more detail. So I think we need to call Mr. Umesh or directly Mr. Ram Sarin to come and present something on the session live with Sowtex also. Mr. Bhaskar has just put in a comment saying that setting standards within the organization and the data integrity for every cost element and the driver are most important for the costing and simulation in the pricing. And it is rightly said that the business process analyst and the business process manager. I think as an entrepreneur and as a tech entrepreneurs that we are in, or I would say the tech professionals who are part of this ecosystem, we all are now in one way or the other are business process managers, because in the last few months what we have seen it is working remotely, sitting at home. We've all understood that how to handle this technology part now. And what has not been gained in the last 4 years, 4 months of Corona has actually kind of shown us the doors and told us to get started in this particular direction. And very soon, I think we will be having a lot more changes coming in through. Dr. Bheda, we are almost towards the end of the session. So what do we have to say towards on the closing remarks today?
Okay, so thank you, Sonil and Sanjay. I think we covered good ground and we have answered all the questions. So let's not stretch it beyond a point. So key takeaways is that the route to efficiency is through quality. Let's build right first time quality in every process, starting from product development, ideation up to the dispatch, because many times people forget or overlook those areas as such. That's important. Reducing cost of quality can improve profitability substantially, and a lot of work needs to be done there, but these are quick wins, low hanging fruits, and a lot of savings can come in. Pre-production needs to be looked into in terms of accurate costings, accurate estimations, elimination of the buffers is also very, very important. But also very important is the ability to actualize those plans. That is also equally important. And three-dimensional product development, digital tools, including what Sanjay has shown, a very simple tool for T&M management are very, very crucial for taking the business forward and empowering people to be able to do their jobs right, because these are aids for them to improve their performance. And in the next session, we will look at the areas of method standardization and Kaizen Blitz events for rapid rapid productivity improvement, and also the rapid skill building, because again, skill shortage is another area. So I look forward to meet our audience again next time. It's the quality of audience that matters. And I would really like to thank all of them for having taken out time to participate in today's session. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bheda. Sanjoy, do you want to say any closing comments
Let me underline like the session, the name of the session, low hanging fruit. There's lots out there which is very affordable and you can grab it, do it. And remember something, when you do something like efficient TNA or efficient 3D CAD, 3D modeling, not only does it help you, but it becomes a very important sales tool, right? You show your customers, hey, on my mobile, I can tell you the status. I can involve you in the TNA and show you the status. You can see your status for yourself. That's a very powerful sales tool. So don't underestimate that. Technology helps you improve your own work, but it also is a very useful sales tool. And thank you, Dr. Bheda. Thank you, Sonal.
Thank you.
Good evening.
I think you summed up the entire thing in a very small and a nutshell way. It is something which is very easy to adopt, and if it can be marketed well, that is one area when people start playing with it and create something new, create some new ideas. And of course, when you start playing around with the technology and doing it well, and you start impressing your customers, that's when you come back and see how okay we can go out there and start working back towards the quality and on the execution process, and make sure now the delivery works out in the same manner how we projected to the customers. So that's an insightful session we had today. Thank you once again, Dr. Bheda, for today's session. And of course, Sanjoy, the tool is very insightful, and we would love to have those sessions in more details. And we look forward to the next session, which is on the 9th now. We don't have too much of questions, so we don't want to stretch it too much today.
Yeah.
I think we've covered everything. Q&A session, we have not left anything unanswered there. Sanjoy, did you take the question on the Excel reports and the change for this?
Yeah, I did. I showed them that from WebTNA you can print out your Excel reports.
Sure.
What they're used to working with is simply a report in WebTNA.
Okay, great.
So you don't have to miss Excel.
Okay, Ji. Great. Thank you so much, everyone, for being on this session today, and thank you to the entire Sowtex team and the team at Axient as well as RBC to help us curate today's session. And we look forward to having you once again in this particular session next week on the 9th. So stay in tune with us, and still that time, in case if you still have any questions from today's session, or you have anything in your mind in terms of efficiency or any challenge that you're facing in your organization, feel free to write to us. In the meanwhile, we have already shared our feedback form session also. You can write there. So wherever you feel, just reach out to us, and Dr. Bheda and Mr. Sanjoy has both shared their individual phone numbers and the details also. So you may write to them as well. So whatever is there, you just take out the maximum out of this particular session, and we want to ensure that we are moving as a community towards the changing side of dynamics post-COVID. So we should be looking at and talking about this word very soon, post-COVID, and we are all gearing up and waiting for this phenomenon to happen. So till that time, till next week, stay in tune, stay safe, and stay healthy. Thank you once again for joining us in today's session. Thank you, Dr. Bheda and Mr. Sanjoy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.